What's up, everybody? You know the music. You know what's up.
It's the rock music.
The rock music from StreamYard. It's episode 49 of the Sports Card Strategy Show. Kendall, Lefty, McKee is my partner. I am Paul Hickey. We are with NoOffSeason.com, and Kendall is with Kendall. Why don't you tell everybody who else you're repping here? We know about Wild Cards box breaks. Just real quick, why don't you tell everybody what you got going on?
Sure. Yeah, I excuse me.
And the cough.
We're both a little under the weather today. So, I also own a card company called Wild Cards Trading. It's not the Wild Card producer. That was unique to us when we found out we made a little bit of a boo-boo when we made our name. So we get DMs all the time like, hey, I got a duplicate card back-to-back in my set. What the hell? And we're like, hey, not us. Sorry. Different company. But Wild Cards Trading is what I do with my man T. Wright, who's been on the baseball show with me previously. We do breaking, and we're like little small hints as we might end up rebranding soon. And so that is a little under the curtain a little bit. Nice. But I also work for justbaseball.com as their merch director. I cover the AL West in the State of the Divisions podcast. So that's the Rangers, Mariners, Athletics, Angels, and Houston. And then I also full-time or part-time work here in Lexington in a leadership development program, and has nothing to do with cards. So, but nice. This is the Card Cave. Welcome to the Card Cave.
Welcome to Kendall's Card Cave. That's some great alliteration right there. I love it. And for those of you who are new to the show, we welcome you. We're very, very happy to have you. We've got a great community. I'm very thankful for the community of listeners and watchers. The entire audience is awesome. Everybody adds a lot of value. Kendall and I kind of facilitate. We add our knowledge. We do a lot of research, but we don't know it all. So we appreciate everyone else's knowledge and questions, and just love the community that we're building here on the Sports Card Strategy Show. For those of you who don't know, we also have several other niche shows. So for each sport, we try to do a show. Kendall hosts the Soccer Card Strategy Show and the Baseball Card Strategy Show right here on the feed. I call it the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Content Network. It's really a fancy word for the YouTube channel and the podcast feed. So if you subscribe to the channel and the podcast feed, you will get all of the shows. You will also get the Basketball Card Strategy Show that I host often with my man Gary from Hoops and Cards. He's a great guy, very, very knowledgeable with basketball cards. He also collects other sports. And then, of course, the Football Card Strategy Show with Andy Kaysen, who's part of the team at NoOffSeason.com. He writes a lot of our football sports card investment report player profiles. So check out NoOffSeason.com if you haven't already. That's where we've got not only the top 50 sports card rankings, but really going deep upwards of 75, 80 players ranked for all sports. Andy helps with football, and he also hosts Football Card Quest and has a thing going on over at go to patreon.com/footballcards. He does an amazing job, and it is football season, so we're putting out a lot of football card content. But also F1, Greg Longtoe and I host the F1 Card Strategy Show. So we try Kendall and I on what we call the Flagship Show, which is this podcast that you're listening to or watching right now. We try to hit everything. We try to have fun across the board of all sports, and even getting into some non-sports trading cards that we'll talk about. And on the niche shows, we try to get super geeky about each individual sport. So, and again, we do have a promotion running right now. I would love to give you our sports card investment report at nooffseason.com, the in-depth premium version, free for a year if you're not already a subscriber. So email me at paul@nooffseason.com to find out how to get it free for a year. And don't worry, all of you who are already subscribers, I'm hooking you up too. So we got your back, everybody. And we're going to jump into our show format here. So first thing we typically talk about is L of the week. So I'm going to go first because I feel like mine are unique to me, and I'm not going to step on anything that Kendall might already have queued up for his L of the week. My first one is non-card related, and the second one is card related, and it's a bit of like a hobby tip, I guess. So my son had a baseball tournament Thursday through Sunday, so over the last 4 days. And he played really well. I'm really proud of him. He had a really good attitude. He probably hit the ball the best that he'd hit it. He didn't get to pitch, which was kind of a disappointment, but that's not my L of the week. My L of the week was this kid on his team who's, everyone on his team, they're all age 11 through 13 basically. And we're here in Spain. So it's not always competitive baseball wise, but this was a very, very competitive tournament. All the top teams from around Spain in this age group came to Valencia. And so it was very competitive. Everybody played pretty well. But this one young man who's, I think, only 11, but he's almost the size of Miguel Cabrera already. He's just a huge kid. Never hits the ball. And he rarely gets into a game. And so we're down 1-0. And there's 6-inning games. And I think it's like the bottom of the 5th. Okay. So this young man gets up. He's in the bottom of our order. And we need something. This kid hits a line drive home run, O'Neal Cruz style, to like straightaway center. And as he's rounding first base, the umpire calls it off and says that the other team had called timeout. This is why it's my L of the week, because I had never, let me know in the comments if you've ever had anything like this happen in a little league or youth game of any kind. This was just absolutely dejecting. And while it is an L in a vacuum for this young man and for the team, it could have been worse because the parents absolutely verbally annihilated the umpire for about the next 37 minutes straight. And I thought there was going to be some kind of fight after the game with this umpire. I've never seen anything like this.
Mind you, all of this is in Spanish.
It's all in Spanish. So like the good news for me is that two things. Number one, I can't really say anything anyway because my Spanish is really bad. Number two, everyone's saying all of the things that I would have said anyway, so I don't really have to get in trouble. I can just sit there and let everyone else do the talking for me.
That's funny.
It was crazy, man. But anyway, that was my L of the week. So L of the week card wise though, I'll share this with you guys real quick. This is not that big of a deal, but I did want to bring it up on the show because I think it's something to look out for. So Yeremy Pino is a guy that Kendall and I have talked a lot about on the show. So I'm bringing up, for those of you watching, I'm bringing up a card that I bought. I bid on this card. This is a non-rookie auto out of Topps Merlin Chrome for Yeremy Pino, Villarreal card. We think he's someone that could go to a larger club, could maybe transfer to a larger club at some point and get a bump in his card pricing. It's a super cheap auto, but I think it's a nice card. A lot of these are going for between $12 and say $17 or $18 on eBay. There's a lot of them, so it's not rare. It's easy to get this card. I won an auction at $16.50. So I was pretty excited about that. The L, though, is that I didn't really check where the seller was from. And so I had to pay almost as much in shipping as I did for the card. So I had to pay $9.99 in shipping. I don't know if this is because the seller's located in South Korea or if some, maybe even if they're even if the seller is in North America, I think you guys need to look out for this. Because I'm the type of guy, you know, I've bitched a lot on this show about people not paying for their winning of an auction. And I've also said on this show, I always pay for what I win. And I always pay for when I get a best offer accepted. Even if I change my mind and hate the card, I still pay for it and get the card because it's just the right thing to do. So there's no way that I'm not going to pay for this card. You can see here, I paid for it. It's shipping to my vault. The L, though, is that like I didn't do a good enough job understanding where the card was coming from. And so now I'm paying $25, $50, $26 for a card that's really only a $15 card. So, is it that big of a deal? Probably not, but could I have done a better job? This stuff is important, though, if you do want to actually have a profit margin, which is why I wanted to bring it up on the show.
Yeah, that's good. I think, first off, man, the fact that you still got a Pinot Auto for like, even if you got, you paid like $26 or something, I think it'll be worth more than that in the future. Now your profit margin, like you said, is going to be affected there because it probably sells for around $40, I would say, at the height, because it's just a base auto. But not a bad turn still, like when you're making those turns, like there's a lot of people that probably listen to our show that are making those $5 to $10 turns, and that's how they're building up their bankroll to get to the $250 Bowman Chrome Auto or something like that, and so that's how I started. So I would still consider this a win, even though it's marginal.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good morning, Oh My Shoes. Good to see that you're joining us at the beginning of the show. I know that you regularly struggle with working versus watching our show, and I appreciate that about you. So
that image just looks like it's a California image, and if it is, dude's up early.
Yeah, no kidding. It's
I think it's like 7 a.m.
Yeah, 7 a.m. California, West
7
Coast.
a.m. diving into sports card content. Let's go.
Love it. Love it. And if that is the case, you also work very early, so good for you. But respect on working and watching the show, my guy. So let us know what we can do for you. And Kendall, do you have an L of the week that you want to share with the audience?
I do. It also revolves around an eBay auction. So the past couple of weeks, I've had some W's on just getting rid of some Bowman Chrome autos that I've marginally made money on. Like exactly what we're talking about with yours. I bought autos for $5 to $10. Some Bowman autos like maybe a year ago or so, and it's a couple guys like Michael Massey, Jordan Diaz, just some of these guys they're on bad teams and they were far down in the depth chart, but you knew that eventually someday they weren't going to be incredible players, but they were going to make the majors. And whatever you do, whatever you buy that at, you just sell it whenever they get to the majors because of the hype cycle. It's a really easy way to make, $10 to $15 per card. And I just keep doing it. It's something that Kyle from Let's Talk Wax talks about a lot. He has like his bargain bin that he talks about. It's basically guys that you can go find from $5 to $15 in their Bowman Chrome autos that are destined to be in the major leagues. So they're probably like in AAA or something like that, and don't have a good WRC plus, don't have a good K percentage per se, but they're going to make the team, and that's the important part. So I've been doing a couple of those, and I was able to flip 2 or 3 of those this week. But my L comes from a Jordan Diaz auction. So Jordan Diaz is a prospect he's not a prospect now. He's in the majors for the Oakland Athletics. So like anything good that's happening there, people are excited about, right? So Jordan's playing pretty good, pretty well. He gets pulled up. I have an auto that I paid $5 for last year. His autos right now are going anywhere between like $25 and $40. So great opportunity for me to get it out there. But for me, I just wanted to make a quick turn, and I think I posted my Jordan Diaz card a little too late. Because I posted it as a auction, and I also posted it as a buy it, like you can offer it or whatever. I said minimum bid $5 because that's like really quickly I'm going to be in the green. So it's on auction. I had a guy reach out to me and say, Would you take $5 for it? And I was like, no. I told him, I replied, I'd take 15. That's still me making double my money, and that's way cheap for you. That's a half off basically. And I was just trying to crystallize some money on this small card. And he was like, would you do 8? And I was like, no, I would do 15. And he goes, how about 12? And I said, I will still do 15. And he's like, okay, well, would you do 15 if you can change the shipping option to the dollar ship eBay shipping rather than I always send in a bubble mailer. So I always pay like USPS first class, which is like $4.50 or something.
Yeah.
And I said, sure. I was like, sure, I can do that. That's your prerogative, not mine. It's your card that's not being in the safe element of a bubble mailer. So I went on my eBay account and I found out you can't really I can't figure it out, or you can't do it. You can't change the shipping after it's already started. And so what I could do is add another option, but then there's no option on his side. And so
had he already paid for it?
No, he hasn't. And he's like,
okay, so he hasn't. So this is still something that you could, because I have a suggestion. So what I've been able to do in the past is instead of if the person pays right away, then it's kind of done. But if they win an item, either you accept the offer and they haven't paid yet, or they, in another situation, like they're the winning bidder, but they haven't paid yet, the seller can send an invoice, and on the invoice, you can just change the amount that you charge them for shipping. So I'm sure he doesn't care necessarily how it gets shipped, but he cares that he doesn't want to pay for that amount of shipping, right? So could you accept an offer as is with him for that shipping method, but then tell him not to pay until you've sent him an invoice that reflects the cost of the shipping that you guys agreed to?
I could do that. And then while we were negotiating, somebody bid on the item. Therefore,
there it is.
Now I can't sell it even for $15. So it is on auction, and it's at $6 right now. And so there's a chance that it could not sell for $15. But the fact of the matter is, I'm $2 away from being my losses would cut even. Well, I guess with taxes, probably $4 away. But so anyway, that's kind of an L, because I just was I think this guy thought I kind of was just giving him the runaround, because I was like, oh, I can't figure it out, blah, blah, blah. Like if you ever give any sort of except for yes on eBay, everybody's like, he's a scammer, like hey man, I can't figure out the shipping, I'm sorry. He's like, I didn't want to sell it to me, he probably didn't even have the card, like it's like
whatever.
I
hope your auction gets bid up and goes for over 15, or at least for 15 for somebody who's going to pay for the right amount of shipping.
Right.
How much time's left in the auction?
Like 5 days. So.
Oh yeah. So we had some feedback. We asked for feedback a couple episodes ago, and we got some great feedback. There was someone who left some really nice stuff on the YouTube comments for that particular video. I think it was episode 47. And one of the pieces of feedback he gave us is that we've referenced time remaining in auctions. And so I think his point was that referencing time remaining in auctions really doesn't matter for the price. And we agree. I tried to clarify this. Like I wanted the feedback, and I appreciate the feedback, and I'm taking it well. I just want to clarify though that like when we reference time remaining in auctions, like we know that the last really doesn't matter until like the last 5 minutes, maybe even like 60 seconds in a lot of cases. So Kendall was the one who even mentioned that on the show, a couple months ago. Anyway, you got 5 days left. I think you're good.
I think so too. I think the unfortunate where I put it as an L is it was confusing and I couldn't change it. And I'm glad you brought up the invoice thing. But then like then I felt like this guy had a weird skew of like what I was trying to accomplish. And I was just like, look, it's just a Bowman Chrome auto that I don't care about, like don't whatever. But yeah, so I do feel confident that it probably will clear $15 in 5 days. Like I'm not really that worried about it at all, actually. I'm just trying to keep stuff on my eBay page. But I do have one massive L, Paul. Massive L. And this is in regards to wild cards. So wild cards, T and I, we were like super excited for the Topps Chrome release and what it was going to look like to have Wander, Bobby Witt, O'Neal Cruz, Julio, all these guys' rookie cards all in one, Torkelson, all in one like product. And then Topps was like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create short prints of all these rookie cards so they're not just everywhere, which I was like, okay, I went back and forth on. I felt like that was like a little bit of a play on them. But at the same time, open up Topps Series 1, there was Wander rookies everywhere. And they went from like $50 a piece to like $5. And so I was like, okay, like let's figure out what's going on here. So there were opportunities to have Wander rookie card autos, Julio rookie card autos, Bobby Witt rookie card autos. Like these are huge potential cards. So we're like, okay, this is going to be a big release. So we bought a case before everything happened. We bought a case of Topps Chrome. And this, our small company, like this is a big decision. So we put like, I think it was like 3.5 down on a case. And it came in, and in the time where we bought our case and it coming in, Topps like confirmed and found out that they misfilled their cases and the short print rookie cards aren't in there. And so like, yeah, so Topps Chrome Baseball 2022 is a horribly messed up release. They have autos in there, but like their parallels and stuff are not in there. And then there's some players that are and some players that aren't. And so like I get a text from Krim, like, so we get the case on Friday and we have our break posted already. It was like going to be the biggest break we've done ever. Not that we were going to make a lot of margin on it. Like we were trying to keep it pretty cheap. We just wanted to do a case break and see if we could profit on it.
Yeah.
And while that was happening, like while we were selling spots, it was going a little slow because it's a case break. It's a little more buy-in than, those regular. Like some of the spots were like, $300-$400. And so Krim texted me and goes, they didn't put any of the rookie cards in the thing. And I was like, no way. Like, that's not real. And he goes, no, for real. Like, I've watched a couple of case breaks, haven't seen any, and there's none on eBay. Like, that's just wild.
So what are they like? Can they make that right in any way? Like, can they get you, like, are they going to, people who bought cases, can they get the proper cards in some way, shape, or form? Like, what are they doing?
So to make this long story short, basically T and I took a massive loss on this case and basically just were selling slots for like half of what we paid for it, basically. Yeah. And so we were just able to try to get money back from it. Ended up ripping the case, and it was a horrible product. We got, I think we had 25 autos or something. I think 18 of them were relief pitchers. So it's just like,
oh my God, that sucks. Yeah. That's horrible. What a mess.
And so, but what Topps Chrome is going to do is they're going to send, apparently they're going to send like silver packs out to people that bought cases and stuff, to the distributors, and then those are going to get distributed. That's what they've said. But even then, we bought our case from another person. So like, we don't know for sure if that person is going to share those.
But that person feels the need to even share those, right?
I mean, now they've our buyer or our seller, we're the buyer. Our seller has said, "Hey, we're going to get those to you guys if we get them," and like there's still like this
Yeah.
but so just to be clear, there was no rookie short print non-autos. So there were autos in there, and there were autoed parallels. Now the good part for that is those autoed parallels are going for insane money.
Okay. So
Like
did you pull anything? Did you get anything big?
the one thing we got was we got a Wander rookie non-auto, but his chrome had like a prism parallel, which is the only parallel that's in it. It's just a prism. So it's a refractor prism. And it looks fairly simple, but card's worth multiple $100s just because it's the only one. So
wow, what a messed up release.
So the Rays owner did get us a pretty sweet Wander card, and we did get a short print, like $60 or $70. What I mean by short print is it was numbered pink Jaron Duran card, which was like $50. Which, I mean, if you're buying a case, that's not what you want your hit to be, like
Right.
So
yeah,
it was just a
really,
really sucky week for us at Wild Cards. So
yeah, sorry to hear that, man. That's definitely a big L. Let us know in the comments if you were involved in anything with the Topps Chrome baseball release. Share your stories. Glad Kendall has the outlet here to let us know about it. All right, my man.
I'm a survivor.
Yes, you are. So on to more positive things. Did you have any wins of the week, W of the week? Share with us.
So I have a couple of strange W's of the week. More like, other than the Topps Chrome, week went pretty well. Had a good week at work, like had a good week outside of work. Had a fun week, like chopping up with my buddies this weekend. It's just a good week.
Good.
I also found out that I was looking at some data from market movers, and I was just like diving into like the kind of the overall market cap, looking at that data. And then I was breaking it down to looking at days of the week. And I think I'm onto something here. It seems to be like in the short little run that I've done, Friday is a peak day every week. It seems to be. There seems to be a jump in prices from Thursday to Friday each week on our general market cap. So if there's a way, I don't know how that helps us in the card market, but if you guys are listing your auctions or whatever on Thursday nights, maybe this is because of football season. I didn't go back like the entire year, but maybe it's because of Thursday night football, or maybe it's, like, I don't know. Maybe it's people getting their paychecks on Friday. Maybe it's just the general sentiment that people are kind of in a good mood and they're just, ready to hit it for the weekend or whatever. But Friday seems to be the best day of the week statistically for our card market. And that's when you start seeing a weekend rise. And then, but at the same time, like if you're selling or if you're buying, don't buy on the weekends. So that's my win of the week, is getting a little more data behind, the general market of what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. That's very good. That's very good insight there. So, yeah, very good insight. I think the takeaway there is basically try to end your auctions then on so that the end of an auction would at least try to hit a Thursday, would at least try to hit a Friday. Is that kind of your takeaway?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah.
Or list to buy it now.
I was thinking buy it now, but definitely if you're doing an auction, maybe if you post on Friday, you're gonna like. I think there's two sections of an auction that are really important: that initial hype, and then the last 5 minutes, like our boy was saying.
Think so too. I think you're right, because I've noticed in my auctions, I've run a lot of auctions recently, and the initial, when it's a new listing, I think people must have saved in their searches new listing. Yeah. They get in early, they watch it, and they even bid, right? And then nothing happens until the last few hours. And, for those of you out there that are going to slam and say, oh, nothing happens till the last 30 seconds, it's all the bots. That's not true. I've sold enough to know that there's action, in the last several hours of all of my auctions. There's more bids in the last several hours. There's more everything in the last several hours. The difference is that the price doesn't really jump until the last maybe 5 minutes or whatever, 60 seconds. So that's good insight. Keith from our Facebook group, what's up, my man? He says he bought Jumbo and a hobby and landed an Alex Thompson auto out of 25 and a Wander RC, but everything else nothing. So that's related to the Topps Chrome baseball release that you just spoke of. Is that technically 2022?
Yeah.
On it, the year. Okay. Just want to get that straight. That's cool. Okay. So good stuff. My win of the week, if you don't mind, me going to my win of the week, is that it's more of a global win, not a personal win. I think that one of the smartest marketing efforts happened over the last, 5 or 6 days. Certain things catch my eye from a marketing standpoint, and I feel it necessary to drop the knowledge on the show. So word is that Kendall, nice cough there, buddy. God, need to get you one of these Halls. God, these are these strong Halls. Not a sponsor of the show. Wish they were, but it's that time of year, right? I mean, everyone's struggling from this kind of stuff. Okay, anyway, about to drop the marketing play that I think is my win of the week. So I read an article. It appears that when FIFA 23 by EA Sports releases, which I don't know when the release date is, but I'm guessing February. I don't know. Somebody in the comments correct me on that. Doesn't really matter. But, well, it actually kind of does matter. It's not out yet. That's the point. So there's time. There's runway to this play that I'm about to talk about. So FIFA 2023 will feature a fictional team called AFC Richmond. Some of you may already know this team from the hit series Ted Lasso on Apple TV+. And it will also feature, of course, Ted Lasso coaching the team. My understanding is that it will also feature the players on AFC Richmond. It will be in, I believe, what is called franchise mode, that you can use AFC Richmond in franchise mode. And there's a press release on this, and you can get all the information about how to access the AFC Richmond franchise in FIFA 2023. Full disclosure, I don't really play FIFA. I've only played with my son in the past when he's had it on his Xbox Game Pass. But I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is the smartest thing I have ever seen from a marketing standpoint, and it will be big for particular cards. So there are Ted Lasso cards. Believe it or not, we've added on nooffseason.com under sports card rankings. If you hover over it, you'll see culture card rankings. And if you click on culture card rankings, you'll see not only Ted Lasso, but also Roy Kent. And there's a genius artist out there named Kyler Smith. I'm trying to reach out to he or she. I don't know. Kyler Smith, if it's a man or a woman, but the genius artist, I'm trying to reach out to them to maybe come on the show and talk about this a little bit, because I did a show. Kendall wasn't on it, but I did it with a buddy of mine who did an article on cinematic athletes, so fictional athletes. And I did a lot of research into this. And this artist, Kyler Smith, has put together a lot of cards on cinematic athletes. And so what you're looking at on my screen right now is a Ted Lasso and a Lead Tasso card. For those of you who have watched the show, you understand the significance of Lead Tasso. These cards sell typically, they're limited edition, limited print run. Some of them are more limited. This one, the Ted Lasso Kyler Smith art card, is out of $7.90. I think some of them are way more limited than that. But my understanding is that these cards go for $20 a piece on Kyler Smith's website. They sell out relatively quickly. Not all of them sell out, but the ones that are the most popular sell out relatively quickly. And then some of these cards go for double, triple, quadruple the price on eBay. So because they are limited edition and they are pretty cool looking, they do move on the secondary market. So there is a play here I'm not just bringing this up as a notable, I think this is cool thing. I think this is a play because I think you can go get Ted Lasso, Roy Kent. There's also Nate Shelley and Coach Beard also have cards by Kyler Smith. So there's those 4 cards. Now, caution is that there's not a huge market. These are not super liquid, but if you're okay maybe being left holding one of these cards because you like the show, but you want to try to flip it, what I would say is consider going to eBay, because I think they're sold out on Kyler Smith's website. Go to eBay, try to find one for a reasonable price, and then maybe try to list it either when season 3 finally airs or when this FIFA game's released, because I think there could continue to be hype around this. And I don't know if I'm the only one dreaming this up and talking about it. I haven't really seen who else might be thinking this way, but I did want to bring it up on the Sports Card Strategy show because I think it's really freaking cool. I'm a fan of the show. I think it's awesome that they're going to be in FIFA. And I think that the legend of this show is going to continue to grow. And I think there's a play with these art cards. Kendall, I don't know. What do you think?
I love Ted Lasso, man. Absolute ginormous fan. And I also am a perennial FIFA buyer. Like every year for the past probably 15 years, I buy FIFA. As soon as it comes out, play the dickens out of it. Like that's been like my friends joke with me, like I'm a gamer. Like that's what I would say. Like I have this setup that you're currently seeing me through with. I built my own computer during COVID. Like that's my thing, is like I spend time gaming with my buddies. And a lot of times they make fun of me because they are like real deep into gaming. And so they play like all these crazy games. And I'm just like, I just play a lot of times I play like 3 games. I play Call of Duty, I play FIFA, and I play 2K. Like those are my things. And my buddies always joke with me that I bought this nice FIFA machine. That's what they call it. So because I play so much FIFA. So when they announced that Ted Lasso will be like a playable character in the franchise mode, and also like he'll be able to be your coach. You can also play AFC Wimbledon. Anyway,
AFC Richmond.
Yeah, sorry. Wimbledon is also a team. Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks for doing that. I do that all the time, and people get freaking pissed about that. But anyway, I get pissed about it, but still, like we've had some people get rocky road.
We've had some people say, "Why didn't you correct him on this or that?"
Thank you for correcting me. I just get on to something.
It's for the audience.
Yeah. So AFC Richmond will be in the game. Super big Ted Lasso fan. I love the show. I also think there's a unique play that there is Jason Sadusky.
Sudeikis.
Whatever his name is, man. Come on.
I gotta correct you, man. People are getting mad at us.
Sudeikis. Is that his name? Sudeikis?
Jason Sudeikis.
There is also the NBC Sports Network's cards of his, where like I don't know if you remember the commercial that came out before the show, which is the whole reason the show's out. But there's another card of his that's going for around $4 to $5 right now of him like as a Tottenham coach. And so that's kind of funny too.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
There's another play out there as well. It's a smaller play. But it's like got the NBC logo on it and Tottenham's logo and the Barclays Premier League logo on it. So it's like, I mean, that card, I think, to me makes more sense. But anyway,
maybe. No, I didn't know about that card, so I'm glad you brought it up.
But for some reason though, it's only $4. And so the other ones are selling for like for instance, the set of it together where you've got Ted, Roy, Nathan, and
Coach
Beard. So when you've got all of them together, there's one listed for like a grand right now.
Yeah.
You know, so I did look on 130 point at these cards, and most of them are going between 45 and 110 on best offers. So it seems like 110 seems to be where a lot of people are accepting offers. So I would say the general buy it now price right now, it's probably 110.
Yeah, 110. The Roy Kent card I think is sold twice, and each time it was listed for just over $200, but it's sold for like 100 and 110. And it depends what card, but yeah, I think you're right.
So, but the game drops on Friday. So if you're gonna do this play, it's gonna be quick. Like you might not have enough time at this point to get it in and then get it back out, unless you're buying it through a vault or something like that. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, good point. Glad you corrected me on that. Between the two of us, we're accurate. So good work. All right, so we're gonna get to
Jason Sadusky.
Jason Sadusky. I'll never forget that. That's awesome. Oh My Shoes has. We'll just start calling him Oh My Boots. He has a question. We're gonna get to that later in the show, but buy of the week. Kendall, do you wanna go first on buy of the week? This is where we use. I use Market Movers app by Sports Card Investor. Kendall most of the time does. Sometimes he doesn't.
I try to use it. I'm not very good at it.
And you can get that tool for only $1 for your first month if you use the promo code no off season, all lowercase. If you don't like it, just unsubscribe after the month or before the month ends. But we think you'll like it, and get your first month for only $1 using the promo code no off season, all lowercase. So Kendall, do you want to go first on your buy of the week? I've got a few. I've got 3 guys. So
okay,
if you get one of mine, I'll agree with you, and then I'll give my others.
Well, I did want to point out that there's a card that we have talked about several weeks in a row.
Okay.
That has dropped significantly in value, which I think is kind of funny.
And it was our buy. It was one of our buys.
It was.
So we got to call ourselves out. Okay, good. Let's call ourselves out. We were wrong about this card so far.
Well, I think we're right. I think it's even more of a buy right now. So let me share my screen.
All right. Let's do it.
I'm trying to get enough money to be able to buy this card. I really want this card.
Yeah, we have talked about. So this card couldn't have sold many times, right? I mean, this is not a.
It's the same one.
Okay.
And
yeah, so there's not many of this card.
What's funny is I offered more than this on live. When we talked about it that week, I offered.
That's right. I remember.
I offered 400 live, and he said no. And now it's down to $399. And so I'm like, and that you can't offer on it anymore. Like he's just like,
you can't offer it. You can't.
No, it's like nobody can. It's buy it now.
Oh, but could you buy it now? You could buy it now though if you wanted.
Yeah,
to.
I could.
But you don't have you're not as liquid as you were that second. See, that's the other thing that happens in the hobby is like, yeah, I mean, that's why. Sorry, I'm gonna say a couple things.
Okay.
First of all, for those of you who are listening, we're talking about the 2020 Topps Museum Collection, UEFA Champions League Vinicius Jr. Auto Relic Gold out of 50. This happens to be a PSA 9. Kendall and I talked about this card multiple times on the show, like he said. This is why you have to be cognizant as a seller or as someone who has been buying cards but hasn't gone through the selling process just yet. You have to understand that not only could the market dip, and it will, the market is going to change all the time, but you might get to a point where your buyer pool, you might be trying to sell a card that has a limited buyer pool, aka we use the word liquid a lot. What we mean by that is like there's not as many buyers. It's not as easy to sell. Like a card that's not liquid is just not as easy to sell. This is one of those cards. It has a limited buyer pool. So Kendall is in that buyer pool. Well, he doesn't have as much liquid cash right now to buy that card. So that seller not only had an L of their week when they turned down Kendall's initial offer, but now Kendall can get the card for cheaper, but he doesn't really want to because he doesn't have that way to spend that money right now. He's got to spend that money in a different way. And I think everyone is like that in the hobby. Like none of us have unlimited disposable income. So this is still Kendall's buy of the week. So I'm going to hand it back over to him, but I just had to say those things.
Yeah, I think there's this opportunity. I have two cards that I'm like trying to like, okay, what am I gonna do? And there's Paul's known about both of them. I've been kind of in on this, been watching it. I've kind of been like, okay, somebody buy this card because I want to buy this card, but I probably don't need to buy this card. And then there's this other thing where I've been trying to find a Gretzky rookie for a long time.
Yes, I remember. I was with you at the National for this.
Yeah. And so here, let's go back to this. And so there is a Gretzky that I have that a guy has dropped into my direct messages and asked me if I wanted to buy a Gretzky from him. And my simple question is going to be, would you do this, Paul?
Okay.
This isn't my would you rather, but
Would you do this?
Would you do
a
this?
New segment?
So this is a CSG 5 Gretzky.
Oh, good God. Okay. No, I'm with you. And I understand the context behind this. So Kendall's been wanting 1979 Topps Gretzky. Yeah, 1979 Topps Gretzky. And he doesn't care about the grade, but he just wants to pick the right one. So I'm with you on this CSG 5.
And kind of I do care about the grade.
Okay.
But like I just know I can't afford more than like a 5 probably.
Right.
So like because some of the 10s of this card are going for like crazy money.
So what does he want for the CSG 5? What research have you done around how that comps out, and how does it comp to like towards a PSA something? Like what's the
originally when this guy reached out to me was before the National. It was actually like right at the end of the NHL season last season. And I was dropped on the show that I was watching some cards, you know, like I'd been really into looking for a couple of different guys that I won't butcher their names, but because it's Russian, and because clearly I can't even get English names right at this point. But I was looking at a couple guys, and then I had said that I was looking out for this Gretzky. There's an OPC version, and then there's also a Topps, just regular version. And that's really important if you're looking at this card because the price differences are astronomical. And so I really don't care which one. I mean, I'd love to have the OPC because it's a little bit rarer, but I don't care because it's a Gretzky rookie either way. So this guy wanted $2.5K for it, like in June or
June, yeah.
And I said, okay, hold up. A PSA 5 is like 1,800. Like you got, like I'm not paying that for it. And he was just like, well, like I think CSG grades harder and blah. I was like, that's great. I'm the buyer, and I don't think CSG is worth a dang. So, he's like, okay, well, would you do some trades? And I was like, I would trade you. So this was back then. I said I would trade you $400 plus 2 O'Neal Cruz autos. So that's fairly good, you know, like, especially at the time that was going to be around, like, I think it was going to be around $1,200 or something like that. And, wait, yeah.
What were the O'Neal Cruz autos? Like, were they?
They were base autos. It was when O'Neal Cruz was at his highest.
The 2016.
Yeah.
Misspelling name Dodgers uniform.
Yeah, that one. So that card, 2 of those, and $400 for this.
Okay.
And he was just like, no, dude, that's way too low. And he was like, I don't even know who O'Neal Cruz is or something like that. And I was like, okay, that's a problem, first off. So we've gone back and forth. Right before the National, I had about $1,000 like saved up to go for my bankroll to go with you. And he reached back out and he was like, hey, before you go to the National, like, how about this? Like 1,500 or something. And I was like, no, at that point, it was even worth less than that. You know, this card's been kind of going down over the off season. Yesterday he reached out and goes, how about $1,000 for this card? So Paul Hickey, you can look at your resources or however you want to evaluate this in person. This could, a CSG 5, and you can talk your way through it. CSG 5, $1,000 Topps Gretzky rookie card.
Okay. What's up, Toa? Good to see you. Great to have you here. I'm pulling this up. So 1979 Topps base in a PSA 5. The most recent sale, $965.88 on May 8th, 2022. This card has been going down according to you. You've been tracking it, so I trust you. And okay, it's I would say, look, let me go to guys, I gotta do this the right way, audience. I'm going to eBay. I'm typing in 1979 Wayne Gretzky.
And to be clear, this is not an
Topps.
OPG.
Right. That's huge. That's huge because they look the exact freaking same. So be careful. Topps CSG 5. I'm just gonna type this in. This is my process. Okay. No exact matches for sale right now. There is a CSG. This is interesting. There's a CSG 6.5 that you could bid on. At the lowest bid is $1,500. That's a data point. There's 3 days left in that auction. I mean, I will explain kind of what I think that means. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. I'm going to share my screen. A PSA 5 of this exact card sold on September 5th, which was 21 days ago, for $1,005, 26 bids. So
there's one that sold more recently than that.
Okay. All right.
There's a PSA 5 that sold for $1,260.
Okay. So in that regard, I would say assuming that you still really want this card and you still can execute your plan for this card, I would do it because the card's come down 50% from where he wanted to sell it. And I think it's always going to be a really, really liquid card. So if you needed to sell this card for whatever reason, I think you could get $1,000 back for it. The other thing I would do is I wouldn't crack it. I'm going to be very clear about this. I'm different than a lot of people. A lot of people you'll hear say, crack it and send it into PSA, or crack it and send it into SGC or whatever. I don't want to crack it. I just want to send it in the CSG case for a crossover grading to PSA for no other reason than the PSA slab should always outsell the CSG slab. And I don't want to mess with the card. I don't want to have to deal with messing with the card. You might be more advantageous. You might be more adventurous is probably the better word. That's what I meant to say. And you might want to crack it. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. Let's take Toa. So Toa actually says CSG is a sneaky play for the future. While they don't command much resale value at this time, their pedigree is outstanding. Parent company, CGC, we know them from the comic book grading, right? And their head graders are ex-BGS. They're also they also partner with Fanatics. Is that right? I think they also partner with Fanatics. So they're definitely not going away. And what I mean by that is specifically, I think the owner of Fanatics has an ownership stake in CGC, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe I wouldn't maybe cross it over right away, but if you had to, you always have that option. So I would do it. That's my long-winded way of saying I would do it.
So here's my answer.
Okay.
I'm going to offer this guy $800.
Okay, he's going to lowball him again.
I'm going to lowball him again because I know if he's called me 5 different times, I might be the only person he has interested in the CSG Gretzky.
That's
you know what I'm
probably
saying?
True. Yeah, and I wonder if he just doesn't have an eBay account, or he doesn't want to use. He doesn't
want to do eBay because he calls it FeeBay. One of those.
He's one of those guys. Okay, gotcha. No problem. No disrespect to those guys out there.
So I'm going to offer 800 because I think that's fair. CSG is much harder to move. Like if you had a CSG Gretzky on the floor at National and a PSA 5, I would imagine that the PSA would have sold much quicker, or the CSG would have sold instantly, and then they would have walked it down the aisle and crossed
Right.
over.
I think everybody's doing that. Yeah.
Which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to send it over. If I buy this card, it's going to be for 800, and I'm going to tell them, because I'm going to have to put $100 in this card to make it where I want it to be. So, anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm probably going to have to, like, my liquid situation is going to have to be under microscope if I do that. So,
Yeah.
I might have to move some product before I do that, but that sounds like a drug dealer. But and Toa, thanks for chiming in there. I'll just give my opinion. I don't like CSG at all. Like, I love their CGC stuff. Like, I think that is their market. I think that's where their foothold is going to be. And honestly, I don't see it crossing over to sports because the slabs look unique. The slabs look different. I would actually say I don't even like them as much, to be fair. But I had a Jordan CSG one time, 96 Fleer. So it was like the 10-year anniversary of the 86 Fleer card. It looks exactly the same, just like it says Decade of Excellence on the bottom or something like that. So I had one of those one time in a CSG, and I was like, surely I'll be able to trade this. I traded like a nice PSA 10 Brennan Davis auto for this, which was back in the day. And I couldn't move that for anything. I ended up having to sell it for like probably 70% value of what I had in it. And it was a Jordan card. So it was just like, that burned me completely. I have never bought another CSG slab. And of course I'm a PSA homer, but hey man, like, that's what is moving on the market,
and we talk a lot, Kendall, about like when you have to explain something to someone, how it's such a detriment to the ability to sell that particular product. And I think that this qualifies as one of those situations for me. You have to explain to someone CSG could potentially be in the future this, that, or the other, and automatically you've lost a lot of your prospective buyer pool. So I don't disagree with Toa, but I do take the stand that you're taking, which is it's just not for me. I'm going to put it in a PSA slab for sure.
And I'm not looking to hold stuff long term enough for my CSG plays years down the road to play out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wanting to flip stuff in the next 20, 30 days at max. So.
All right, cool. So good stuff. So my W of the week, I have a few. I'll go pretty quick. Because it is football season, I do caution against buying football cards, but there are a couple of guys that I think could be some fun, low cost, sort of DFS-ish type guys. One of them is Deebo Samuel. So if you look at Deebo, his cards are down quite a bit. No matter how you toggle market movers, his cards are down over the date range. And if you're into sort of daily fantasy sports or player prop bets and can flip, if you're set up to flip, I do like a 2019 Prism Silver PSA 10 has a pop 25. It's down 24%. It's not cheap. It's still $305, but it's down $95. And so it's a very, very liquid card. Also, his field level silver PSA 10 is a little bit higher pop, but only pop 85, down 26%. This is only a $147.50 card. I say that knowing that's a lot of money to a lot of people. It's a lot of money to me, so it's not trivial, but at the same time, it should be pretty liquid. Given that it is NFL season, the 49ers did lose in a weird final score to the Broncos, and they are 1-2. But I think it is because they are 1-2. It is because they do have basically the same team that they've had over the last few years that has made it very, very far into the playoffs, and the NFC is still wide open if you believe those things. And I'm not necessarily saying I do, but I'm trying to look for opportunities for our audience to align their betting beliefs with the opportunity in sports cards to buy low and sell high. So I think Deebo Samuel is one of those guys. I think Justin Jefferson is another one of those guys. From marketmoversapp.com, his 2020 Optic Hollow Raw is a buy it now at $32. This is down about $6 from a sale just like a day ago. So it's a market that isn't necessarily as down as Deebo, but it's because he hasn't really popped off his last 2 weeks.
He had a horrible game on Sunday.
Yeah. And so he had a great week 1, bad week 2, really bad week 3 against Detroit. And now you're in a situation where he's still Justin Jefferson. His price is down. If you've been eyeing him, now would be the time to buy him. And that's how I'll qualify that. And then a guy that I think is actually probably my number 1 buy of the week is Anthony Edwards. I gotta give props to my guy who has been ranked as high as number 1 for several weeks in the entire sports card investment report at nooffseason.com. I think you're going to see things out of Anthony Edwards this upcoming NBA season that leads everyone to believe that he's like a top 3 to 5 player in the league, potentially. I really think he's that good. And his raw 2020 Prism Silver, which will be about as liquid as any card can get in basketball, is down about $35-ish. So you can get this card for about $190, $195. Not cheap, but for a silver prism of the number 1 overall pick 3 years ago, going into his 3rd season, ready to dominate, and a Minnesota Timberwolves team that I think actually can contend in the West. Used to be a $226 card in its last sale just about 24 hours ago. I think these are some good deals. So it is basketball. It is about to be NBA preseason, like almost next week. So look out. I mean, it's like we're in football season, but we blinked our eyes and all of a sudden it's basketball season. So you're going to miss out on the opportunity to buy guys low like Anthony Edwards like this once this basketball hype cycle really, really kicks off. So we'll talk about a lot of other guys coming up on future shows, but I wanted to give these 3 as my buys of the week. So, all right. So up next, who to sell now? So I've got a couple sell. I've got one sell, and I think it's pretty obvious. So I'm just going to call myself out as being Captain Obvious on this one. Andy on the last Football Card Strategy show said that he would sell this guy, but I've got to reiterate this because sometimes not everybody hears it. Not everybody hears every single show. And Derrick Henry had a huge week for the Tennessee Titans. They won their first game of the year. He looked phenomenal. If you've been hanging on to Derrick Henry, now's the time to sell. If you sold earlier, we apologize. Now's a better time to sell, but now's the time to sell Derrick Henry because everything Andy said, I think Kendall's probably said the same things about Derrick Henry. I wanted him to pop off before you sold. I didn't really speak up and say anything, though, to dispute those guys. So I'm not really on the record as being correct about this call, but I really think now I want to be on the record. I want you all to sell Derrick Henry. That's what I've got for my sell of the week, Kendall. Any comments on that, or do you want to jump right into your sell?
I am never against selling a running back, ever. So if you've made margin on a position player in the NFL, if you have any margin and you're going to ask me, should I sell? I'm going to say yes. Yeah. It doesn't matter to me whether it's Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry, or Barry Sanders. I'm like, I'm still like not holding, and that's a big take. Yeah. I am okay with what I just said. Somebody's like, oh, he just put that, Barry Sanders in there. Just, no, I'm okay with that. I really think position players, even Hall of Famers, are not something that is investable. So I literally had a buddy just send a some position players from like the 60s to for Walter Payton, for instance, was one of them. He was like, I'm going to send one of those. I was like, great. What are you going to do with it when he gets back? And he goes, I'm going to sell it immediately. I was like, fantastic idea. I just, like
if you're finding these guys in your closet, because there's still a lot of people that are listening to the show that are finding the show brand new and learning from us, and these are lessons that I've learned over the last couple of years. Is like, I found my old sports card collection. If you're finding skill position players from your childhood that are Hall of Famers and you want to send them into PSA or SGC at $30 a card and get them all bulk graded, that's great. I think bulk at PSA is 22 now. You got to be a member and you got to have a certain amount of cards, but great idea. And then sell them all, so you can make a profit off that. But to Kendall's point, like, would you make a profit off of buying a Walter Payton card already graded, or going out and buying it raw, which is even riskier, and then trying to flip it? I don't know, and the position player game, like with Derrick Henry, like that's super risky. I mean, the dude could get injured in practice this week. He could, even more realistic, he could rush 25 times for 67 yards and not get the ball on the goal line next week, and all of a sudden his cards go down. Like, if you're just kind of learning about football card investing, that's the main reason why I'm saying, like, hey, big performance against the Raiders. Look like he's back. Look like he's old Derrick Henry. Well, he's getting older. The hype train's not going to last too long. So get that card sold right now. Kendall, who are you selling?
I'm going to go ahead and say I'm already in the mindset of selling Luka Doncic.
Okay.
And so I have two sales this week. One of them being Kyler Murray. I don't believe in him at all at this point in my life. I watched the Cardinals yesterday and I could not, like, I was even testing my own self of being like, why do I hate this team so much? Like, it's just like Kyler and there's just so many players on that team that I just feel are just like blah in my head. Yeah, except for Zach Ertz. I'll drop some Zach Ertz respect. All right. So Zach Ertz, I'll give it to him. He's like the one Hall of Famer probably on the team. But anyway, if you have Kyler Murray, I'd say sell it. I don't think it's going to get any better. I think it actually gets emphatically worse for the Cardinals this year. I think James Conner is going to start stealing more snaps from him. He is struggling mentally. There's all that contract speculation and all these people saying he doesn't really care very much and blah, blah, blah. I think that narrative is going to continue to get worse. I don't think it gets better. So my sell of the week would be Kyler Murray and Luka Doncic. And there is a little bit of a reason why Luka is a sell for me. And primarily it comes into rookie print runs. Like, the guy has a ridiculous amount of cards. And so if you can sell in this preseason hype for Luka, I would say do it. I know that, like, for instance, I'm wearing this Texas Roadshow shirt right now. I know that Krim would probably disagree with me. And I'm sure that Luka is going to sell at higher points this season. I'm okay with that. Now, when I'm saying he's a sell for me right now, I'm saying I'm going to capitalize on this momentary peak, not because I don't believe in Luka, or not because I don't think the Mavs have the potential to make the playoffs, not because I think he has the potential to be MVP. All those things are true, which would make me look silly saying this right now. What I'm wanting to say here is I would rather invest in a low pop count player rather than invest in Luka Doncic. So if you have Luka, I would sell him. Anyway, so I wonder what your take on that is, Paul.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, I think there are these hype cycles, and one of them is at the beginning of the NBA season when things are kicking off and ESPN's talking it up, TNT's talking it up, it's everywhere. You're going to see prices increase. And the only other time during the NBA season that you're going to see prices as high as November, like October through maybe early November, is going to be a little bit around the All-Star break and then in the playoffs. And the risky part about in the playoff, like Luka's not going to jump at the All-Star break because that's already built in. Maybe a guy like Donovan Mitchell could jump a little bit at the All-Star break because, if he's new in Cleveland and if he has a standout season in Cleveland and makes the All-Star team in the East and stuff like that, he's an example of a guy who could jump. But Luka's at a different level. Like, he's not going to jump at the All-Star break. He would have to win the 3-point contest, set an all-time record in the 3-point contest, and then he'd have to score 100 points in the All-Star game. I mean, maybe he would, but these outlandish things would have to happen. For Luka's cards to jump, he would also have to win a championship. And so I do like the Luka call from the sense that if Luka's not your favorite player or your favorite PC, or you don't think that the Mavericks are going to win the championship and you'd rather put your card money into something else in your life, whether it's other cards or something outside of cards, now is not a bad time at all to make a move like selling Luka, especially if it's a base card.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about statistics here in a minute, but I'll just put it this way. Vinny Jr. has 36 different rookie cards across all sets and parallels. 36. Luka has 1,307. I think I'd just rather have my money in a more scarce product. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So Toa's jumping in here on our last couple of topics, and he says, Walter Payton is a card you hold long-term or move volatile cards into. His cards won't lose value in the long run. By the way, Payton equals the GOAT. So good take there. He disagrees with our Walter Payton call, and that's totally fine. I don't think that's wrong. I just think that that's not what I would do. So it's good to know what Toa would do. And then Toa on Luka says, Luka Select Premier, assuming this is 2018. Great value right now, lower pop and scarcity parallel, still affordable, around $100 raw. So still opportunities to buy some basketball cards right now for sure. Absolutely. So that's good to know. And hard to make a blanket statement, like Luka would be a sell right now. I think it would have to be a particular card. So I will adjust my take a little bit on that. I will say, if it's that Prism 2018 Prism base that's been kind of slowly falling since its peak in 2020, I think I would see that as something that I could easily get back into. So if I wanted some money out, I would sell it, that kind of thing. So I think it's situational with Luka, but I think to Kendall's point, timing the market wise in general is not a bad time to sell him for sure. So we'll see what people say in the comments. I'm
sure I'm going to get destroyed.
We could get absolutely destroyed. We're already getting destroyed by one of our most loyal Toa. So it's fine. Bring it. Bring the heat. We love it. All right. So
I'm okay if I get destroyed because I've said I'm fine with everything you're going to say. I would just rather have my money in a less pop, different type of player. That's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So go ahead and roast me, but that's what I would put it in, is in a lower pop player.
Sounds good. All right. So I've got a would you rather for you. And I know you said you had a would you rather for me. So would you rather, this is kind of a joke, but kind of serious. I have two of them actually. I'll do mine and then you can do yours and then I'll do my last one. So would you rather have Mitchell Trubisky or Kenny Pickett as your quarterback?
Man, I hate the Steelers. Probably Mitchell Trubisky right now. I think he's the person that is best fit in that quarterback room to do whatever the hell the Steelers are doing right now. Like, Trubisky, I don't know. I'm pretty worried about the Pickett hand size thing. I know, like this is ridiculous, but like
This is so ridiculous.
his hands are like the smallest hands ever, apparently. And like if you look at the history of like small hand quarterbacks, it's not good. Like statistically, small hand quarterbacks are really bad. And so I'm like,
Can we all
should
just
I play
crush
into
Kendall
that?
in the
Like, I
comments
don't
on
even
this?
know.
Everybody crush Kendall in the comments on
Go
this.
for it, man. Like
Bring it.
First off, I
Small
don't even
hand
care
quarterback.
what you say about the Steelers because the Steelers are a has-been franchise.
Oh, my shoe says Pickett. All right, fair enough. I'm going small hands. Throw the small hands into the fire. I'm saying Pickett.
All right.
You ever heard of a guy named Jamarcus Russell, Kendall?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he had some measurables, if I'm not mistaken. How did that work for him? Small hands.
Fair.
I love it. This is great. Okay, sorry, I had to give you some
Russell.
crap for small hands. All right,
That dude could throw 70 yards from his knees.
I know.
Wow.
What a great pro quarterback Jamarcus Russell was.
Yeah, true.
All right, what do you got for me on the would you rather front?
Mine's very similar, actually. It is if you were to start buying, so like today is the day that you're going to start buying a quarterback in the NFL. Who would it be and why?
Oh, this is great.
Because it's not necessarily a good time to start buying a quarterback.
That's right. It's not a good time at all. But I think I know. So I'll tell you who it wouldn't be first, and I think I have some answers as to who it would be. I have some contenders here. It would not be Lamar Jackson. It would not be Jalen Hurts. And it would not be Trevor Lawrence because their stock is all going up based on their on-field play. They are guys that I am very, very proud about that I have been correct on having them in my top buys, basically at nooffseason.com football card rankings. So I'm very, very proud of myself. I'll pat myself on the back here and stayed true to those three guys being buys over the last several months leading up to the NFL season, and they have all performed very well and are on the rise. So it would not be them. It would either be, I'm going to give you my three choices and then kind of go from there. It would either be Deshaun Watson, Zach Wilson, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, or Patrick Mahomes. So I gave you five. I said three, and then I said five. I like those five because if I had to buy one, I would be considering those five because they're all not necessarily ascending from a sports card value standpoint. I think if I had to pick one, it would be Mahomes because while he is very expensive, he is the one that is the most accomplished and is the least risky in the long term out of all of those guys. So I would go Mahomes.
Interesting. Okay.
Do you have an answer for this?
Well, I was just sitting there like watching Trevor Lawrence play this weekend, and I was like, this guy's for real. Like he really still is. And I know we both
buy him. You could buy him.
That was going to be my answer because I feel like he has so many fans that have just been sitting in quiet expectation for him to just pop off, you know,
I agree.
And I think that like he could be the most valuable quarterback at the end of the year. And I don't even think he has to accomplish much.
I agree. I agree. So it could be premature to say sell him. I'm personally selling him because I have been one of those people who has been patiently waiting for him to pop off. And I am now selling just because I don't have a super high risk tolerance. And so if something does happen that's negative, I do think it's actually really bad for his card value. As long as he keeps progressing, he would be a great buy right now. I just don't know that he's going to keep progressing. So he's risky to me. I still like him, but for me personally, as an investor, he's risky.
I think we'll look back in week 10, 15 and be like, wow, Trevor Lawrence and that Jags offense has turned a corner big time.
Could be a good call.
And I think that his cards will be worth a fraction then. Wait, they'll be worth now a fraction of what they will be then.
Yeah.
So that's
Could
just
be a
my
good time.
speculation. And then again, I also am not buying quarterbacks. So that's just what I'm saying. And I have no money behind it. So I'm just filling the space with hot air. So
I like it. I like the hot air. Oh, my shoes. Back to the Pickett calls. He says he and his son scored some Pickett rookie cards in a trade and were hyped. I love that. I'm wondering, are they the XRCs from Select? Because if they were, those babies are hot. I would look to maybe sell those, or hold until my guy Mike Tomlin finally announces that Pickett's the starter, whether it's this week or in the coming weeks, and then look to sell Pickett. All right, cool. So Kendall, you've got some great notables for us that I want to give you some airtime for. But first I want to just real quick talk about some moves that I made on no off season. So I did, and then we'll do your notables, and then we'll do audience Q&A to wrap the show. So stick around, everybody. So I did add several new types of player profiles to nooffseason.com and the football card rankings. I added Bryce Young, Will Levis, CJ Stroud, Shadur Sanders, Caleb Williams, Tyler Van Dyke, because they all are current college quarterbacks with investable cards. So in the moves segment of today's show, I want to note that those guys are now on the site, and you can read their profiles and why I think that they are investable and what the plays are for them. And then there are also a set of other guys that I added. I added Drake London, Kenny Pickett, who we just mentioned a second ago, Jahan Dodson, and a couple other guys that are rookies this year that have investable cards. Now, I'm not one for college uniform cards, but all the guys that I just rattled off, I think are exceptions to the rule. And so go to nooffseason.com to find out why they're exceptions to the rule. And let me know what you think in the comments, or email me at paul@nooffseason.com. I'd love to know what you guys think. So those are the moves at nooffseason.com that I wanted to talk about. And Kendall, you're up, my man. You've got some interesting notables for us here. So in lieu of the Gauntlet, why don't you give us what you found here that you want to talk about?
yeah, so I'm fairly regular on Twitter. And by the way, like when we get there, Paul, I've dropped the links to some of them in our private chat, but that you can pull up when we get there. But I'm fairly regular on Twitter. That's kind of where I do most of my social interaction, and I sell some cards through there, and I talk about sports quite a bit. And I've followed this guy called the Collector's Guru, or his tag is Eric Whiteback. And he's a card guy that talks about collectibles, but he has a strong position on statistics recently. And just some comparative ones, not like not like what we're doing in terms of market move versus up and down, blah, blah, blah. This guy is basically comparing player to player, and it's refreshing for me to look at and realize where I could be putting my money. And so like this is like simply what has driven the discussion about Luka Doncic, what has driven this discussion about Trevor Lawrence, and my question with like, I don't really know what I would do with him if I was an investor in Trevor Lawrence, because the super modern cards have been wildly overpricing vintage recently. I mean, there's some exceptions, obviously, like Mickey Mantle and some stuff like that, but it's kind of weird to me how sometimes the super modern market doesn't, like, it over reflects where like GOATs should be, and so it's just like, it's interesting to me. And then there are these statistics that the collector guru or the collectibles guru has brought up that are really interesting to just run through and have a reminder of some of these statistics. So Paul, if you'll just run through some of them, There's no in particular order. Most of them are around the idea of Trevor Lawrence, Zion, and Luka. So, for instance, this one right here, Zion Williamson career minutes 2,694, and he has 5,078 different cards.
Yeah, like, that's crazy.
I understand that this isn't like this. Simply, he's just saying these are the facts. This is how many career minutes he has. This is how many different cards he has. And I look at that and say, man, there are some upset Zion people out there somewhere. And I know they're everywhere because there was a couple of years ago, it was Zion mania. Like Zion was the card. And it was like everybody wanted a Zion or had some Zions, or, it's like everybody thought he was going to be LeBron James, and the guy can't stay on the court. But this year might be different for him. So like, although this number is, this was on the September 21st, but at the same time, I think what the Collector Guru is trying to say here is saying like, this is how it is right now. And I don't think he's trying to sway you on anything.
Yeah.
I just think he's presenting a fact here of saying like a super modern card has 5,078 different prints. And he's got
be careful.
Half as many minutes.
Be careful. I agree. I think so. It's funny because the guy in replying to this tweet right below it is like pretty pissed off about it. He's trying to do a good job being nice to Eric, but the guy Ryan right below Eric's tweet is a little bit pissed about the fact that he tweets this stuff out. But I'm with you, Kendall. I don't take this as like a slap in the face to modern collectors or anyone collecting or buying, investing in these guys' cards that he's talking about. I take it as like, hey, just so you know, like there's,
it's a reality check.
It's a reality check for sure. And like, be educated on what's happening so that you can make smarter investments related to sports cards, because you can find a rare Zion card out of the 5,078. It doesn't mean that you can't invest in Zion. It just means like, be careful, buy the right card. And that's what we're all about. So I like this. You want to go to the next one?
Yeah, let's go to the next one.
Okay. So the next one is,
Mac
Jones.
This one is okay. So Mac Jones has 2,106 different autographed rookie cards. Pat Mahomes has 833. So Mac Jones already has over twice as many, almost 3 times as many. I mean, 300 short of three times as many as Pat Mahomes does. But then if you look at Brady has 13, Paul.
Yeah.
So probably the best probably the best investable card ever is a Tom Brady rookie card. I just don't imagine that ever gets any worse, unless he just, unless this divorce stuff gets way out of hand and some stuff, like just gets nasty for him.
I always say this, like, not joking, but like, unless we find out that he was like Bill Cosbying people, then he's probably safe.
Yeah, I mean, but he has 13 rookie autos instead of 2,106 in Mac Jones. Like, this is just another like occurrence that these cards not only are going super liquid, but they're also going for much. I mean, like in this case, Brady's probably still much higher than Mac Jones. And we'll see another one here soon where it's like some of the vintage cards are just not getting the same amount of respect that I think the modern cards are. And I think obviously in the 90s, there's junk wax everywhere. But I think there's some things that the Collector Guru is saying here. Just go to the next one real quick, and then I'll kind of wrap it up.
The Collectibles Guru.
Yeah. So this is another one. This kind of like is kind of just like, I don't know if this is necessarily fair because of the Brady is such on the other spectrum. But for instance, Trevor Lawrence now has 1,136 different one-of-one cards, rookie cards. That's insane. First off, one-of-one should be one-of-one. And there's 1,136 of them. For comparison, Tom Brady has 6 one-of-ones. And like That's insane.
That first number is insane. And the more that I'm thinking, okay, so I love everything about this guy. Don't get me wrong. I love that he's doing this. I will say a couple of people had some good follow-up questions. One guy was talking about like, what about Herbert and Allen, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert? I do think it's a bit unfair to compare these guys to Tom Brady. I understand that he's trying to compare the year 2000 versus the year 2021, 2022. I totally get that. The only reason I think it's unfair to put Brady potentially in this tweet with Trevor Lawrence and maybe even in the other one is just because Brady was the 199th overall pick. And so you could go back and you could be like, well, the number one quarterback taken that year, did they have, like, I would have added that. I would have thought to add that data point to this, right? Like, I know,
it would be different.
And I know Brady was the 199th quarterback, but the first quarterback that year only had this or whatever, because who's going to make all those cards for 199th pick?
It'd be interesting to look at like what Peyton's cards look like.
Peyton would be a good one.
You know, Manning came out of Tennessee, extremely hyped, almost like, I mean, I wasn't old enough, so you know you're gonna have to speak from what it was like when he came out, but I would imagine it was something like when Trevor Lawrence signed with the Jaguars.
Exactly like when Trevor Lawrence. It was exactly like when Trevor Lawrence came out. The exact same thing. And Ryan Leaf there was some hype around maybe the Colts taking Ryan Leaf, but it was never really going to happen. It was like everybody knew that it was Manning 1, Leaf 2. Everybody did think Leaf was potentially going to be as good as Manning. We all know how that played out, but it was always Manning number 1. It's very much like Trevor Lawrence, almost the exact same thing.
So I think that would have been a more fair comparison in this.
Yeah.
In this, but what I'm thinking, what I know that Guru's getting at here is like, you are thinking you are spending investable money, putting your money into a one-of-one Trevor Lawrence, thinking that that's just going to be the end-all be-all, which it probably won't be, because there's 1,136 different one-of-ones.
It's not going to be $1 million card. No chance.
Yeah, so go to the last one, or maybe we're one more, or two more. Yeah, this is one I was speaking from earlier about saying Luka has 1,300 different rookies and Vinicius has 36. That's also very similar to what you're arguing about. One guy had super hype coming out of a draft, and one guy, you know, is a different market completely coming through a youth system. So, I mean, that's totally different. But anyway, go to the next one. It should be the last one. Yeah, so this is where I wanted to get at. So he said it's not just enough to. So for those of you listening, I'll read the tweet. It's not just enough to buy modern numbered cards anymore. They aren't rare. You need to buy key parallels and inserts from important sets that you're investing in, stars, and gambling on rookies. Things like true color prisms, green and gold kabooms, not just regular kabooms, and then Topps Chrome Sapphire parallels. So this is where I kind of wanted to get at with this. I think this is where Guru is essentially going with all of these tweets. Yeah, I think
he's spot on with this.
And he's saying like, because, and you see this a ton in unlicensed products. And like, this is the first time I saw it was an unlicensed product. So like Panini baseball cards, for instance. Every single pack has a numbered parallel in it. And you're just like, oh, sick. I got a Walker Buehler out of 50. And it's like, yeah, but it's not worth anything. It doesn't matter if it's out of 50. It's still less than $5. You know, like It might be the only one in that pack that actually sells, but it's still going to sell for $5 rather than, you know, 500 if you were to get an out of 50 somewhere else. Maybe not a Walker Buehler, but and so like this is like another statement saying, and I know Paul asks a lot of these kind of questions, basically like, can you make plays on things like autoed cards that are DNA certified and you move them over? Like, we've got a lot of these cheeky plays in what we're doing here at No Off Season. And I think this is another one of those. Like, load up on things that are going to be long-term scarce. Because scarcity, we've seen our hobby already go through this previously. We've seen the junk wax era. I mean, I have like literally binders behind me that are just filled with old football and baseball cards that are cool for me to look at and are absolutely worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there was just no, well, one, there was no like way of setting apart cool cards back then. Like they didn't do, you know, chromes and autographed. I mean, they did do autographs, but like not really, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, they're basically all just paper singles. And so now you've got to realize, okay, there's like this chrome era where we're getting numbers and parallels and different prints and colors. But like now we're having to decide, okay, do I invest in an out of 5 or true out of 5 Bowman Chrome, or do I invest in an out of 5 Sapphire? You know, because that's technically 10 different out of 5s.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot, and just like in the Trevor Lawrence debate, this isn't the one Trevor Lawrence card to end them all. That's the one of 1,137 or whatever it was. And so just be careful, guys. I know like a lot of this is investing. And of course, this is never we're never giving you like licensed investing advice. You know, like we're just kind of giving you our plays or whatever. But I think if you're going to do this long term and you're trying to look at building generational wealth through sports cards, which is what you're trying to do if you're investing in stuff, invest in some stuff that's going to be extremely scarce in the long run is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I will add, like, just my take on it is that while I do believe collectibles guru Eric Whiteback and what Kendall are saying, I believe that this is accurate. I think that from a realistic standpoint, not everybody can afford these types of parallels, because when you do go on eBay or any marketplace, you see that these are not cheap. You might be able to get some bargains at a card show, but for the most part, or a flea market, for the most part, that's like almost like winning the lottery, and you're really not going to be able to get a good deal on any of these cards on eBay or any other online marketplace. So I think I would qualify their statement by saying, there's nothing wrong with buying any card of any player to try and flip it for a few bucks here, a few bucks there, and build that up. Kendall talked earlier in today's show about that very thing being that's what he's done. That's what I do. That's what we're here for. But I think he qualified it very well. Actually, he said, if you're trying to build generational wealth, you're not going to do it with some of these cards that Eric Whiteback is talking about. You might be able to do it if you can somehow acquire some of these others, like he's saying green gold kabooms, Topps Chrome Sapphire parallels. I don't know about generational wealth with that. Maybe the green and gold kabooms, like the prism, like gold prisms, maybe, you know, like gold prisms. Those are the ones that everyone wants and everyone's paying big bucks for. So, you know, I think your best shot, if you can't afford some of the bigger names, is to actually try and get gold prisms of basketball and football players that haven't popped off yet. They haven't become the talent that they one day could be. And everything's risky. All this is risky, but I think I just want to acknowledge Toa's comment here too, that Peyton Manning was bad in his first 2 years. Imagine him in this market right now. I agree. I think that's what we're trying to get at, is like, hey, maybe Trevor Lawrence is the guy, because he hasn't really had his moments yet. But make sure that if you're going to invest in Trevor Lawrence and you think it's going to be for trying to get a 6-figure, 7-figure card, make sure you're looking at following the pattern that Kendall just outlined from using these Eric Whiteback tweets. So I like that. Sorry for those of you could probably tell I've got a little raspy throat here. My whole family has a cold. It is what it is. Live chat Q&A is up next. So let's talk audience Q&A. So before we get to the live chat Q&A from Oh My Shoes, we had a couple questions emailed in to me. One, Jeff Davis, shout out to my guy Jeff Davis, who emailed me. Paul, loved the football show this week. I picked up the Lamar Jackson Kaboom, rookie card Kaboom, so 2018 this summer and picked up a few rated rookie hollows last week. That was on my advice, the kaboom. I know that. Have some questions for either you or Kendall. So I saved this for the show. I pulled a Spencer Torkelson Orange Wave out of 25 rookie auto refractor from this year's Topps Chrome. Okay, so rookie from this year's Topps Chrome. That makes sense. It's a redemption card. I've seen several redemption golds going out of 50 list for $6K on eBay. I can imagine anyone paying that much ever. So I think there's a typo. I can't imagine anyone paying that much ever. So I'm assuming I'm just looking for offers. Thoughts on kind of how to list this, I think, is what he's looking for. And then he says, FYI, I was in Kendall's Topps Chrome case break this week on wild cards. Grabbed the Tigers, hoping to get lucky again. I live in Fort Worth, so Kendall already had the Rangers locked down. LOL. Thanks so much, Jeff Davis.
Man, that's awesome. I'm glad Jeff Davis is a part of everything I got going on, right?
He loves the lefty.
Who doesn't, you know? I would say, I guess, do you want to answer this first?
Basically looking for how to list the Torkelson. Yeah, if I'm going to list it now, I would list it as a buy it now for, I would actually do exactly what Jeff suggested, which is go look and see how much it's being listed for on eBay. And then I would actually, if I'm trying to sell it, I would come down a little bit. Like I would bring down my price even just by $5 or something, $50. So if it's being listed for 6,000, I would list it for $59.50 or best offer and see what offers I get. If I'm not really trying to sell it right away, I would maybe just wait until spring training next year to list it.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend as well. I think with redemptions, it's unique because most of my advice on redemptions has been sell the actual redemption card before you redeem the auto. Just because redemptions from Topps takes forever sometimes. And sometimes you never get the card you anticipated on.
That sucks.
And sometimes that's not Topps' fault. You know, sometimes that's the player never filled them out. Maybe just, you know, like basically it's from A to B to C, and you're C, right? Maybe B never got it from A, you know. And so I would always sell the redemption little blue card if it's a player that you're not heavily invested in. If it's a player that you are emotionally PCing and everything, submit that card, man. I have totally done that. I have taken 2 redemptions. One of them that was a player, a Rangers Maximo Acosta card, which at the time was worth probably anywhere between $100 and $150 because it was a unique auto. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care if it's $150. He's a Rangers player that I am looking forward to seeing how he develops. And so I kept it. And it took a year to get in. And once it got here, he was nowhere near as good as he was when we started. So, and then the second one was a redemption I got in 2021 draft last year in December when I pulled the Arizona Diamondbacks. I was looking for Lawler and got another guy's redemption for a black and white wave auto. It's going to look sick, but I still am waiting for it. And at the same time, like if I do it, like there's an option if it's taking too long, you can apply for I forget what they call it, but basically a equal card value. They'll send you something else. Well, to be fair, like if it's been there for 12 months and maybe that player has lost a lot of value, like if you apply for the redemption like equal card, like are they giving it to you for current market value or market value when you sent the card in?
Yeah.
And so like there's just a whole lot of speculation. I know that there's been a whole lot of lawsuits around redemptions. There's been a couple people that have actually sued them for the like they think it's like I forget what it's called, but basically like an unlawful agreement. So Topps has been sued several times over this redemption process. And anyway, I would sell it But I would wait because Spencer Torkelson's autos right now are a fraction of what they were last spring.
Yeah.
And the guy's good and he's going to turn himself around, but he clearly is a power guy rather than a power like an average. And like there's just like a bunch of things that they thought he was going to be that he wasn't in year one. Not saying he won't be, but I'm saying he wasn't in year one what they wanted him to be. His price really suffered. A lot of his futures rookie of the years got absolutely burned. And so I would wait until the spring hype for next season because the Tigers are as bad as they could be, and it's only going to go up from here. So,
Way to go, Tigers. That's my team.
dude, Lions, though, super fun to watch right now.
Super fun to watch. Super good at figuring out how to lose close games.
Hey,
as they
to be
did
fair,
again
they did lose, yes. But I love watching the Lions right now.
Yeah, they do look good. They do look fun to watch. All right, good stuff. Yeah, tricky stuff on the redemption for James. I would lean towards what Kendall's saying is like, if I can sell a piece of paper, a scratch that hasn't been scratched off yet, that says a certain thing on it for $6,000, I'm probably going to do that rather than roll the dice with tops and try to get the card. As much as I would love to have the torque out of 25, I think that's sick. I'd actually take like 75% of the value of the actual card just for a piece of paper with a scratch off on it. So
have you ever heard of wholesaling real estate?
No, I'm muting my mic every once in a while, so I think I might have just
cut
myself off. Yeah, because I'm hitting the cough button.
So basically, it's like somebody's going in and offering to buy your house, and they make a agreement basically where they take a contract, and their whole thing is they're never going to buy the house. They just have access to buyers. So like they buy the contract and then sell the contract before the close of the home to another buyer. So like basically from a seller's, and I'm probably butchering that, but that's how
that's ridiculous, by the way. I hate that.
That's
no
how
one should ever do that to anyone.
That is how I see redemptions. Let me be the middleman. I get this piece of paper from Topps and sell it to somebody else before the house is actually ever
I
mine.
like that, just not in the actual real estate example that you pulled, only because I'm trying to buy a home right now. Okay, so I got a quick question for you, and then we'll get to Oh My Shoes' question, and then we're going to sign off for the day because I'm pretty sure Kendall and I both have to pee really bad. So here's my question for Kendall. I was doing some research for an article that I'm writing for Sports Card Investor this upcoming week on Topps, basically like the Topps UEFA licenses and all the sets that go along with the UEFA licenses. So it's like a 12-page article. But I came across this 2022 Bowman Chrome Road to UEFA Under 21 European Championship soccer card. And I thought, if anyone would know how to break this down for me as to what the hell is in this set and what the significance of this set could possibly be for soccer card investors, I'm going to start with my guy, Kendall, Lefty Catalytic McKee. What the hell's going on here?
I don't know. It seems like they're just like, hey, we're going to make the most obscure soccer product you've ever seen in your life because we got to find some guys that in this checklist that can have a first card, basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've got some guys that are probably going to be studs in here. And I'm looking at the checklist now. It doesn't seem like there's any confirmed names on here yet. Other than the ones that we have pictures of here. But the ones we do have pictures of here, I mean, the names don't just just pop off of the page at you. So I think this is going to be very similar to the Bowman football release.
Yep.
To where it's going to be like you're going to have like big people be like, "Oh, Bowman, yeah, next big thing in the soccer blah, blah." And like exactly like what happened with Bowman University. And then it hits and there's going to be a couple cards that are worth good money. And then it's just going to be a bunch of stuff of players you're never going to hear of probably.
For sure. I agree with you. I think where my head goes though is that in the event that any of these guys that have first Bowman Chrome autos, like the one on my screen right now, actually become anything, wouldn't those cards be worth a ridiculous amount of money if they actually become something?
They will. Yeah. Soccer autos in itself are fairly scarce. The one thing that I'm not excited about, which I'm looking at this card and I can already tell you something that I'm not jazzed about, is typically
Sticker.
Bowman. Yeah. Typically Bowman autos are on card. And one thing about our soccer market is it's very, very difficult to find on-card soccer autos. Every one of them is likely sticker autos. And I think that's because of we've talked about this briefly before, but if you are not aware of what we've talked about previously, it's probably because of geographic area to where Topps is. And so it's probably a lot easier for them to send a sticker sheet to a player in another country rather than thousands of cards for them to do on-card autos with. And then especially with quality control and some other things, like you never know if a box is going to get dinged or something in shipping. And then that, like every card of that autograph, if they're on card, if you have a fat pack like this, if you send them everything in a box like this and they sign them all, it's in 2 rows. And then on the way back in international shipping, some big box just falls on this half of it. And you've got the top right corner of every card that's dinged. I get that. And I can see how there's a big argument for, in quality control, sticker autos are the way to go. But I'm just continually not excited about it. And I think there's one of my buddies, Sean, is always harping on this about, like, every time we talk, he's just like, I just can't find any on-card autos of any of the U.S. men's national team players, blah, blah, blah. And so I think that's something in the future that will be pretty significant. So I'm not excited here that the one that they've chosen to show has been a sticker auto. So,
Yeah.
But I do think there's probably some very unique names on this checklist that we should be researching. And maybe that's like the one helpful thing of this product is saying, like, it is a whole crop of new dudes that we should be diving into. I mean, it's just as well as we do. If you listen to our soccer show, there's so many guys out there. There's so much going on. It's not just keeping up with one league. It's not just keeping up with the NFL. You're keeping up with, like, the whole world's academy program. Like, there's the odds of somebody falling through the cracks for me and Paul is very, very likely. So things like this will help us keep guys on our radar and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. All right, cool. Thanks for taking that one for me. I was intrigued by that. Okay, so last question of the day comes from Oh My Shoes, our person. We don't know who you are, but we love you. Thank you for watching and commenting. They are wanting to buy James Wiseman 152 rookie card optic choice. He's kind of already done the research for us, but I've got it pulled up on my screen anyway. Basically, the seller wants $50. Wait a minute. You're wanting to get it for $35. The seller's asking $50. You've talked him down to $35. You're hoping he'll go to $30. The raw card goes for $20. Here's my take. I'm looking at this. The raw card does go for somewhere between $12 and $20, depending. Sometimes it's gone in late August. It was going for $26, $22.50, $26.71, etc. Great looking card. Here's my thought. SGC. I have a few thoughts. SGC 9 does nothing for me. Like, it really does nothing for me. So if you're hoping to get if you're wanting an SGC 9 to flip it, I would advise just buying a raw card, and you're probably going to be able to flip the raw card for more of a profit if you're trying to flip Wiseman. On the other hand, if you're collecting Wiseman, I think, getting the SGC 9 for $35 is fine. It's not a big deal. I don't personally care about the $5. So, Oh My Shoes, I think you're probably trying to flip this, and so I would I would just buy the raw card. SGC9 just it doesn't do anything for me. I mean, you could see there like the guy who's selling the SGC9 is willing to sell it for $5 more than what he graded it for, and then he's got to ship it for $5 probably. So that's a wash for them. What do you think, Kendall, on this?
Yeah,
question?
that's exactly what I was going to bring up. Is that he's potentially selling it to you for $35 as a wash. So, anyway, what up, soccer?
So Southern,
Soccer.
let's take this one before we head out. So Southern Soccer Idiot, welcome to the Sports Card Strategy Show. We're glad to get your take on this. He says, I saw this U21 set and just laughed. Already way too many sets in soccer. Possible value in the future, but if these guys were of any note, they still wouldn't. I'm glad you brought that up because like U21 seems like putting out a basketball prospecting list and saying like, oh, these guys are under the age of 23. Get excited about them. And it's like, well, they were in the league. They were already like an all-star when they were 21. So what, like, I see the logic there. The logic is like, if they're on an under 21 list and they're already 20 or 21, like that's old actually for a prospect. So
I mean, just for example, Gio Reyna is 19 years old, and he's in every set.
And it seems like he's been around for a while.
Yeah, and he's in every set, and he's got autographs at the big level. So honestly, like these guys are late bloomers, kind of, which is weird to say as a 21-year-old, but
they're old, super old.
It could be guys though, like Southern. I would love to have your opinion on this. It could be guys that are. Like I'm seeing a lot of national team jerseys here. So it could be guys that are on obscure countries, maybe that have like some, not as deep country depth charts, and maybe they play in country, for instance, and they might end up moving to a bigger club if they had a little bit more attention. But I'm not excited about it. I am typically on the laugh side of that. But yeah, it would be like a G League set for basketball. That's what I was kind of thinking.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, it was like, hey, this guy's the best player on the Thunder Blue, and it's like, well, it doesn't matter because he still's not on the Oklahoma City Thunder. So
yeah.
I would imagine that this is a product that's gonna not sell at all.
So in next week's show, we are going to report on whether or not my Becky Hammond PSA 10 2021 Prism Prism Auto was a W of my week or an L of my week. And if you want to maybe help me make it a W of my week, no pressure, go to nooffseason.com/eBay and it'll redirect you to all of my eBay listings. You can see what that Hammond is up to now. And we'll do a bunch of other stuff on next week's show. Andy and I are going to do a football card strategy show this Thursday. Tune into that. And we're going to talk more about, I'm going to ask Andy more about my Bryce Young, Tyler Van Dyke, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Shedeur Sanders, all those guys. Andy and I are going to go into the next level of prospects that have cards. It's NFL season. We'll, of course, talk about that as well. But we need to think about who are the next NFL guys. So, everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening. Kendall, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we sign off on episode 49 of the Sports Card Strategy Show?
My regular shout out. Here it is.
It's FC Cincinnati. I might just have to.
It's not. So Lenny Levine has been reaching out to me on Facebook. I've enjoyed chatting it up with him. He's asking good questions.
Great guy.
Just thanks, Lenny, for chatting with me. And I know that you love a shout out. So thanks, bud, for hanging out with me and talking cards. And the Cleveland Guardians clinched the playoffs this weekend, and they were a 17% chance to start the season. So go on, Cleveland, go do your thing. Tito is definitely not Tito Martinez. Tito is living his best life. One of his last couple of years as a coach, looking to just root for the Guardians this October. So
love it. How can I contact you? I'm glad you asked this. Oh, my shoes. Email me at paul@nooffseason.com. Anybody out there, email me at paul@nooffseason.com. If you want I'll email you back right away. If you want a shout out on the show, let me know. If you have a question and you don't want me to mention it on the show, please let me know, because I have a tendency to use everyone's content, even in a private email or DM on the show. And I don't want to expose people that don't want to be exposed. So if you don't want your question on the air, please let me know that. Otherwise, I probably will default and ask it and say probably who asked it. So my assumption is that people want to be shouted out, but not everybody does. So let me know. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. I'm Paul Hickey with nooffseason.com. He's Kendall McKee with Wild Cards on Facebook, Wild Cards Box Breaks, justbaseball.com, and nooffseason.com. This has been episode 49 of the Sports Card Strategy Show. Have a great day. Kendall, should we play the rock music?
Cue the rock music!